Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with another fascinating economic capsule on the Puerto Rico economy, and this time with a new challenge, as if we didn't have enough challenges in this island. Well, it's rising interest rates. The Federal Reserve has decided that, hey, you have to cool this U.S. economy because inflation is out of bounds, and the only tool that they have left is to increase Fed funds rate, and that is really trailing in with all the other interest rates. They are following suit. This first graph that I'm depicting for you shows these trends in interest rates. We have three types of interest rates here. The blue line is the 10-year Treasury bond from January of 1985 through November of 2022. The 30-year Treasury bond, is the red line that you see there, and the Fed funds, which is a very short term, which is the one that has been rising in steps of 75 basis points by the Federal Reserve most recently, is the green line. And as you can see here, the trend has been, yes, on the downward trend since 1985, but now the trend after relative stability, 2009, after the Great Recession, now we are seeing an upward tick in these interest rates. Let's look at mortgage rates in this second graph, and that is the correlation between mortgage rates, fixed rates, 30-year, with the Treasury bond of 10 years. And that's the blue line of 10-year Treasury bond, and the mortgage rates, which are the magenta line. And if we had a perfect correlation between those two rates, it would be 100%. But we have a 99% correlation, which means that these two rates move in tandem. And so you can see that the more this 10-year Treasury bond rises, as Fed funds also rise, then the mortgage rates are going to continue rising. The growth of these mortgage rates from 21 to 22 in just 1 year, it's 29%. And what is the impact of that increase in terms of this of consumer debts in Puerto Rico? We see in this third graph consumer debt, as the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Institutions tells us, that they oversee commercial banks, credit unions, installment credit, and others. But the ones that they oversee here in Puerto Rico, that does not include all these credit cards, which are outside the jurisdiction of the commissioner, because they are outside Puerto Rico, and that includes the Bank of America credit cards, the Amazons, the Macy's, all these installment credit cards, Costco, Home Depot, you name it. And we consumers excel at all this consumption. So we know that this consumer debt is really underestimated. But just to show you the trend, in 1995, the commissioner tells us that there were $12.3 billion in personal consumer debt, of which 9%, which is the blue segment at the bottom of this graph, of this first column, was conditional installment sales. Then the orange segment was 45% the commercial banks. The green segment was the co-ops, the credit unions, 17%, and then others were 29%. Follow through 2021, and we see how these installment credit sales have increased from 9% in 1995 to 29% of a larger total consumer debt, which amounted to $21.8 billion in 2021. That's a growth, an annual growth of 3.7% since 1995. And why this increase in installment credit sales? Well, because after Hurricane Maria, FEMA provided vouchers to those people who lost their furniture, for instance, the refrigerators, all these electro appliances, and these vouchers were given specifically to buy in certain shops, certain retail stores, and one of them was Mueblerias Berrio, so they have been benefiting from all these vouchers, and you see this increase. But this is not just free. I mean, you were given vouchers, but you have to pay for that. So these installment credits are continuing to increase. Then we have the banks that have continued, but now it's a bit less. 26% of 21.8 billion, whereas before it used to be 45% of that total consumer debt. Credit unions have been increasing from 17% in 1995 through 25%, and then the others is 20%. So all the rising interest rates that I depicted for you, all these trends are going to impact you who are listening to me, who are seeing and watching this podcast. Please don't go crazy, and on Christmas, give a hug to your family and friends instead of just giving a present that you have to buy with a credit card. Because come January, all these credit cards, which have already been raising their interest rates, will continue raising their credit their rates, and it's going to be higher payments that you will have to make. So why go into all these financial troubles? We have enough as it is, as not to increase. So please be careful, be wise as to how you spend your money in Christmas, because these rising interest rates are here to stay. And then the final impact of all these rising interest rates, it's the Halloween horror of all these housing mortgage rates that are rising. And after Hurricane Maria, we've been seeing all these difficulties in terms of investment in construction and housing, shortages in terms of labor. Well, see the impact from 1995. This graph depicts for you, the columns are the amounts of mortgage originations, be it by depository as well as non-depository entities that the Commissioner of Institutions has here, and the blue line is the number of loans that were originated. So from 1996 through almost 2005, you see this upward trend. Why? Because we saw this decline that I depicted for you, or at least a reduction in the growth of interest rates, especially mortgage rates. So that really enticed banks and consumers, those who wanted to have their home, to really go and buy a home at mortgage rates they could afford. Well, after the Great Recession of 2007 through 2009, you see this big housing bubble that impacted worldwide all financial markets, and Puerto Rico was also impacted. And you see this decline in the number of originations in mortgages, as well as in the amount of originations, which are all these columns. And then Hurricane Maria came, and we have been seeing more of this difficulties in terms of new construction. But notwithstanding, it's obvious. The Puerto Rico Planning Board told us that investment in construction, in housing, be it public as well as public, was declined from 2012 through 2021, a steady negative 4.2% annually. And then in terms of number of units that the Commission of Financial Institutions has been telling us in terms of sales, from 21 to 22, negative 7%. So what you're seeing is, again, this is another headache in a consumer who is already thinking, well, am I going to pay for eggs and food, or am I going to pay for my prescription medicines, or am I going to now be able to pay for my mortgages? We do have the tradition here of fixed mortgage rates, but it is a problem for those who are going to buy new homes, or those who want to sell their homes because their prices have not gone up as much, and probably they still owe more in their mortgages than the price at which they can sell. And for those new homeowners, well, maybe they cannot afford the new mortgages. So you who are listening to me, be very wise in terms of your budget, because 2023 is going to be still a very difficult year. We're talking about probably a recession in the US and also in Europe. It's going to be a cold winter, and Puerto Rico is not exempt from what is happening in terms of economic growth that just won't start growing this economy. So if you liked our economic capsules, don't forget to subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero, and to give us a like in those capsules that you really enjoy. This is a service of Puerto Rico Economic Pulse, and remember, the economy is all of us. Thank you.